So I'm like, hey, we're throwing out of the bar for the night, bro. Where's your wife? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, she's in there because she's a whore. All right, Terrence Popp here with another episode live from the Lair. All right, so these next stories, basically from 2013 to 2018, when I finally got out of the service. All right, so I started taking up residency in Ilion, New York, right up the hill from the Remington factory. And I would do my PT down the hill towards the back of the plant. There was a big bank of stairs, at least it used to be there. I don't know if they tore it down by now, I don't know. And I would walk the stairs maybe 3 times a week for like an hour. And, just to stay in decent, relative, middle ground kind of shape for an old fart. Because I couldn't run, like, every day anymore. I could, like, run twice a week and then do the elliptical twice a week and then do the stairs. The stairs are not as, walking up and down the stairs were not as bad on my knees and ankles than, as the running was. So, Staff Sergeant Sportello, his son, Sportello Jr., I think he was 11 or 12 at the time. And, he knew that I used to, be a former professional kickboxer or boxer, stuff like that. And, I told his son, like, hey, if you want me to, I can teach you, how to box. I have the focus mitts, I'll run you through the whole thing. But we got to get you, in a baseline kind of shape. And he was like, okay, yeah, because, he was a young kid and he liked his Xbox and, I think they broke him of this, but he ate like a garbage scow, but, he was a kid. I can't really criticize him. I was the same way. I mean, I never thought about calories. I ate whatever the fuck I wanted, as much as I wanted. I didn't care. I was just a skinny little beanpole anyway. So we go down the hill, go to the stairs, and I think he went up and down the stairs 4 times, and I went like 25. And then we're walking back up the hill, and his son was just wrecked. He actually had to sit down like twice. Just walking half a mile up the hill back to his house. His legs hurt for like 4 days. After that, no thank you. He didn't want nothing to do with those stairs. He was done, man. I don't know. And then, there was some more drama with the stairs happened, about a couple years later. I went down the hill to use the stairs, and there was a roadblock thing in the way. There was no sign, and just, they put up like this, like, I don't know, it's one of those little roadblock things you fill with water, and they push it up there because apparently they don't want people to use the stairs. But there was no sign. Well, there's no sign, what are you going to do? So I need to fucking do my stairs. So I walk up and down the stairs, and about 35, 40 minutes into it, I turn around, I'm at the top coming down, and the cops are at the bottom. I'm not going to run away. I mean, I've been there for 2 years in this city. They pretty much know me. It's not like, hey, the army guy, So I go down there, and they're like, hey, those stairs are off limits. And I'm like, well, there's no sign. He's like, are you shitting me? There is a blockade right there. I'm like, well, it doesn't say you can't, still use the stairs. There's no sign. And he's like, well, it's blocked off. And I'm like, well, you know, I mean, I'm in the Army. It's kind of like just a hint to me, man. I climbed right over that shit. It's nothing. So, you know, the cops are trying not to laugh because they know I'm being a smart ass. You know, but, you know, once you get to a certain age, you know, if you're not doing anything illegal, you know, the cops really aren't going to fuck with you. I mean, they might fuck with you a little bit, but, you know, you can always go to court and fuck with them back. But, yeah, so they yelled at me harshly about it, and I decided that, you know, I wanted to use those stairs. So I remember about a week later, I went actually inside the Remington plant, and I had to talk to 3 different people, and then, you know, I asked them if I could use their stairs, and they said, basically, you know, technically the stairs are under the city's jurisdiction because it's on the other side of their fence. So I'm like, okay, so you said you don't have any say in this at all? He's like, no. I'm like, all right, cool. So I ran into the mayor one day, a couple weeks later, because everyone would go to like one of 3 gas stations in the town. And the one I went to had the Subway in it because I pretty much ate there every day because I was lazy and I'm single and I don't really feel like fucking cooking. So I asked him, I'm like, hey man, I gotta use those stairs. You know, I know they're off limits. He's like, well, you know, people could get hurt on there and they're eroding. And I'm like, look, man, I'm in the United States Army. I'm looking at a possible deployment to Afghanistan. As you know, there's a lot of mountains in Afghanistan. And if you look around here, you don't see any mountains. It's pretty much just some low hills and flat. That's about it. So I need to walk on the stairs. So he's like, okay, well, he told me they had some kind of city council meeting in 2 or 3 days. And I said, okay, I'll be there. So, you know, it's at 6:30 at night. I roll in there, and I'm just sitting in the crowd. And, like, right in the middle, they were talking amongst themselves. And then there's the people that watch and listen, and, you know, and I raised my hand. And then they called on me, and I stood up, and I'm in uniform now because I just came off work. And I'm like, hey, I'm the army guy that runs up the stairs, probably going to Afghanistan. Yeah, I need to continue to use the stairs. And they're kind of like, oh, well, they look around like, well, you know, you could get hurt. And I'm like, I'm in the fucking Army, you know. If I get hurt, the government's going to pay for everything anyway. Hell, I could take a rental car, drive it into a volcano, and then turn in the keys and just say sorry, and I'm good to go. And they're like, well, I really don't see a problem with this individual using the stairs. So I got like a special dispensation to use the stairs, even though I didn't use them as much after that because I would get like nasty looks from the cops and stuff, and I really didn't want to. I don't have the cops gunning for me because that's this big pain in the dick. Not that they can do anything. Yeah. But for the most part, except for New York City, and yeah, pretty much just New York City, the rest of the state was very military friendly, to exclude the 30-mile buffer around Fort Drum, because in my experience, when you go to an active duty post, the people who live around the post are soldier saturated because, you know, they come on their passes, their days off, they wreak havoc, they get in trouble because they're young and dumb and full of cum. That's just the way it is. But other than that, in New York City and right around Fort Drum, you're good to go. I mean, I got pulled over between Ilion and Buffalo, New York, I would say about a half a dozen times over the 5.5 years I was there. No, well, I was just on the main thoroughfare, the toll road that fucking they extort from you. To drive from like Utica, New York to Buffalo run you like $6-7. You know, it's total extortion, but you know, what the fuck are you gonna do? The road was in pretty good shape, I guess. They kept it plowed. You know, it was well lit most of the time. But anyway, I would get out of the tickets. Like literally, I'd pull up my ID and my military ID, hand it to the cop, and then on all my cop cars, you know, I would, you know, I'd take one of my Purple Hearts and slam it on the dashboard. And a lot of times they'd walk around the other side and they'd look in there, and I'd give them my idea. They'd look at it like, hey, what's going on? And I tell them, you know, oh yeah, you know, we bullshit back and forth. They see the Purple Heart on the dashboard, and they're like, all right, well, just keep it under 70, because that drive between Utica, New York and Buffalo, New York is a straight line, and it is absolutely soul crushing. It sucked. All right, now there were some very close calls over the years driving on that thing, especially when you get into late October and November, because they got snow and they got freezing rain and all kinds of crazy shit ensued after that. I remember I almost got pinned between two semis. One was doing this and the other one was coming up, and I was literally towards the back of the other one here, and it started fishtailing, and I swear to you, I just took my foot off the gas and fell back, and this other one was trying to slow down, but he was sliding, and he just came up right, and I would have pinched me between the two trucks and probably fucked me up pretty bad. I got out of that one. I remember it being in a couple of crazy at the tail end of some crazy pileups I myself wasn't involved in. I was lucky. I remember on that one particular day, if I would have left on time, I would have been in the pileup and probably totaled my car. I don't think there were any fatalities. I think there was like 13, 16, 17 cars that were involved in this pileup. It wasn't as bad as the one that happened in Canada a few years ago, but you know, it's just the way it is. For whatever reason, I didn't get out of work at 3 o'clock or 3:15 like I wanted. I got out at like 3:35, and then I had to throw some gas in my car and then jump on the road to get the fuck out of there. And I got fucking crazy fucking lucky. Let's see, not safe for military. Okay. All right, now, the legal system that exists within the state of New York is so fucking gay, it is unbelievable. Pretty much everything is assault, and you have to go to fucking court, and usually they plead it down to some crazy bullshit with a caveat: if you don't get in trouble for 6 months, it drops completely off your record. And I almost fell afoul of this one time, and I got lucky. But I was doing redonkulous at the time. I'm still doing redonkulous, but I was just getting started. And I remember I would go to the local bars in Utica and Ilion and Herkimer, and I would talk to people. I'd do interviews, take notes and shit. And the bar's closed now, but it was in Herkimer. And I'm at the bar, and I had a beer, and it was actually my second beer for the night, and I was eating a bunch of chicken wings. And like literally right next to me is this man and woman. They were probably in their mid to late 20s, and they're just going to town. I'm surprised tits weren't exposed. It was insane. So I'm standing there, I finish my last wing, and I put the beer on the counter. I'm like, hey, take the whore and go and get a room. And the guy's like, well, you motherfucker's my wife. And there was a lot of people there, so he walks up and he grabs me, and I grab him so he can't punch me, and then they kind of shuffle us out, the front door, and I let him go, and then, he lets me go in. And people are brave in the bar when people are around. But when there's no safety net for you, the bravery tends to evaporate. So I'm just standing there with the shit-eating grin on my mouth, and he's like, he's throwing a fucking little hissy fit. And I can see, because I could actually see his entire silhouette. He kind of had a little bit of a walrus gut going on, and it wasn't like a minor thing like mine that I have now, like maybe 11 to 15 pounds I need to lose. He was a good 30 to 40 pounds overweight. But I notice his wife doesn't come out of the bar. So I'm like, hey, we're thrown out of the bar for the night, bro. Where's your wife? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, she's in there because she's a whore. And he's like, I sidestep him, I slip one of his punches, get around him, and he's not going to run after me because he's completely out of shape and overweight. Get to my car, roll out of there, and I don't think anything more of it. Okay, there wasn't any witnesses, just this drunk guy with a whore wife and me. So, I'm doing the stairs, like 3 or 4 days later, and the cops are at the bottom of the hill. And they're like, did you get into a physical altercation with, they said the guy's name, I don't even fucking remember it. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, well, people said that you and him were having a scuffle in the bar and they pushed you outside. And I'm like, wow, doesn't really ring any bells. But, I get thrown out of a lot of bars, so you have to be more specific. He just says, look, man, if you're going to do that kind of shit in the New York State, don't fucking put hands on anybody. Don't even fucking tell them you're going to kick anybody's ass, because you're going to wind up in court and maybe go to jail. This place doesn't play around with that shit. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I gotcha. Because I know he wanted me to say, admit shit and talk, because that's how cops are. That's why you never talk to the police, because they're not your friend, and, they're not your friend. Yeah, and then the weird thing is like, the unit I was stationed at was only 2 companies of a 4-company battalion. Headquarters and one of the other companies was in Syracuse, New York. So 2/3 of the time we would drill in Utica, and we wouldn't even hear from the battalion, from the flagpole, because in my experience, when you are at the flagpole, politics, tension, and bad shit happens. I didn't like going down the flagpole. Not to mention that it was like a 70-mile drive one way, and they don't, you're not getting reimbursed for any of that mileage. They say they will. They set aside money in DTS, but I think in 5 years I got reimbursed like 3 times for traveling to battalion and back. So usually they would just call us down there when we would start AT, because we'd always leave from there. Or we had an SRP. An SRP is an acronym. Well, when they get everyone ready, as close to being deployable as possible. And they have a medical team come in and a dental team, and they, you go through the stages, you get any vaccinations that you need. And of course, it wouldn't be an SRP without a 100% piss test, because that happened pretty much every time. But, I don't really, I don't have a problem with the whole piss thing in the Army. I think it is a necessary tool for some people, but I really think they use it too much and they waste a lot of money on that particular program. Alrighty, so that is New York. Now, I think we're coming up on 19 minutes here. Alright, so I want to talk some more about this deployment and how life was in the AGR, Active Guard Reserve. And what that stands for is you're actually an Army Reserve soldier who is filling an active duty position. You would think it's just the regular Army, and it's the regular Reserve Army or something, I don't know. And all they really got to do is just push a button up at the Pentagon or Big Army, and then they just move you into another slot and you're in the active Army. But the AGR program is probably the best kept secret, in the military. I mean, you work every day in uniform, but you're not on post. You're working at a reserve center, and you have a lot more latitude in what you can and cannot do. And I hope that I had more impact on the soldiers than I would if I was in a regular unit, because in a regular unit you got to keep your a regular active duty unit, you got to keep your boot on the neck of the enlisted, the lower enlisted, all the time, and it causes a problem between the lower enlisted and the upper enlisted. There's always been some animosity. And you kind of get over that, between when you're E5 or E6, when you're in the middle of the enlisted ranks. But, as an AGR guy, I mean, I talk to the soldiers like they're human beings, because all of them had their own careers, they had their own lives they had to manage, and they were coming in here to do their deal. So there wasn't any of that crazy, top-down bullshit, I don't think I have ever said at ease to anyone, ever. I said, shut the fuck up, or I'd point at me, silence, you need to quit talking right now, or I'd be like, stop talking, let me speak. But I never played that at ease game. I didn't play those games, and I didn't play the stand-up parade rest, People would stand at parade rest, and I'd be like, hey, look, man, I don't play those games. Just speak to me like a human being. Let's just work this out. And there was a lot of soldiers there that I was able to give some good counsel to, put them in the right direction. And, I stopped a lot of bad shit from happening. All right, gentlemen, that's me for tonight. I will talk to you later.